Hi friends, I'm Gio, and welcome to my channel. This story is about returning home. I hope you enjoy. I drove into Randall's Falls at just past 8 in the evening, the sky fluorescent with golds and oranges drifting along the clouds. It would turn crimson soon enough. The air smelled of the ocean and salt, the breeze cool. A distant boat chugged, heading out to sea, its horn blaring. What's the old phrase? Red sky at night, sailors take fright. Randall's Falls was on the coast between Kittery and Old Orchard Beach, another stop off of U.S. Route 1. I'd made pretty good time. Traffic is always lighter on Saturdays. My car was stuffed with everything I own. The lease on my apartment ran out within weeks. I had left Pittsburgh. Time to come home. I'd been on the road since 10 this morning, and I was tired, grumpy, and hungry. My snacks had long since run dry. A diner was open, a little hole-in-the-wall joint whose flickering side read, Carney's Diner. The sign under it read, Best Chili Dogs in Maine. The American simplification of our last name, O'Carney. The Randall's Reach Lighthouse sat on a nearby promontory, lit for the night, its beams seeking the distant horizon, but never quite reaching it. A flock of seagulls circled near it, never quite landing, always hovering, playing tag with rules I didn't understand. I parked next to a vintage truck, a bored Labrador retriever inside. Its owner must be in the diner. As I pushed the faded door open, a bell jangled. A worn-out woman in her mid-20s glanced up. Take a seat, I'll be right with you. She was delivering food to a booth containing a couple of men and a girl. Must be a new hire, because I didn't recognize her. The air smelled of fried sausage, French fries, and apple pie. The room had beige walls, golden counters, red and black trim, and a neon jukebox playing yesteryear's hit, Just the Way You Are, by Bruno Mars. A poster advertised the South Berwick Strawberry Festival, 12 miles away. The diner sat at the southern tip of Crescent Green, the central park of the little town. Surrounding the park were the town hall, the library, the post office, and the elementary school. Randall's Falls High was closer to the lighthouse. The old family home was over in East Alder. Mom could walk here whenever she wanted, but she chose to ride. She had her own Harley. I hadn't been home for 2 years. Snagging a menu from a pile on the counter, I took a seat at a booth. When the waitress arrived, I ordered a double-stacked pepper jack cheeseburger with Smokey Ember Sauce instead of ketchup. Hold the pickles, but throw in extra fried onions. Add a chocolate caramel shake heavy on the sprinkles with a hug on the side, I said. The waitress's eyebrows rose, wrote it down, and stepped back an inch. Don't worry, it's not for you. She'll understand. The waitress laid my order in the window to the kitchen, said something, and a heavy pan clanged. I had glanced out the window. Short graying hair under a pink hairnet, a face etched with worry lines, and a mouth that hung open. Hi, Mom, I said. Happy birthday. It's not till tomorrow, she grumbled. Jaspar, is that you? In the flesh. In a second, she was out of the kitchen and hugging me in her wiry grip. Mom hadn't changed. You should have texted, she said, her voice gruff but trembled with emotion. Or called, or emailed, or whatever. I had no idea you were even in Maine. That's why they call it a surprise, I said, chuckling. Surprise? She stepped back, looked me up and down, and squinted her eyes. You haven't eaten real food today, have you? I bet you drove nonstop from Pittsburgh and haven't eaten anything real. Guilty, I said, offering a smile. Nobody cooks like you. She snuggled me close for a second. You always were a charmer. It's not too late for you to change your mind. There's a couple of cute girls I could set you up with. Mom, I said, letting the sarcasm out. "You must be getting senile. How long has it been since I came out? A decade now?" "I know a couple of cute boys too," she said, taking my hand and pretending to dance. "With you around, Randall's Fall has an LGBTQ nightlife. Meet Aid and Lance and their daughter. They live in the lighthouse. Randall's Falls is coming up in the world." They heard us talking about them, and one of them raised his beer and toast. "I've had to order a ton of Victory Golden Monkey Ale. It's their favorite." Mom let me go, heading back to the kitchen. "I'll get your food ready. Olivia, get my son one of the new beers. On the house." It wasn't long before I had my shake in front of me, and the beer. I took them to one of the outdoor tables and watched the clouds fade from gold to scarlet, the light highlighting the colonial buildings with shades of amber and pale red. The ale had hints of orange, cold and refreshing after the long drive, a perfect complement to the cool sea breeze. Mom joined me at one of the outdoor tables, setting a plate with my burger in front of me. She had another one for her. As we sat, she opened her beer and asked, "I'm flattered you drove all this way, but you didn't just come back for me, did you?" I looked at my burger, the Smokey Ember Sauce dribbling out the sides, merging with the melted pepperjack cheese. Mom had brought out a basket of freshly fried fries, still sizzling, sparkling with salt crystals. The aroma strong in the air. The exterior lights of the diner flicked on. "Do you think there's a chance?" I asked, wiping a fry through the ember sauce and staring at it, not eating. Mom didn't answer right away. She popped the cap off her beer with the edge of the table, took a slow sip, and let her eyes roam out over Crescent Green, like it might hold the answer somewhere between the gazebo and the library steps. "A chance for what?" she finally said, voice soft, like she wasn't sure if she wanted to hear it or stop it in its tracks. I shrugged. "I don't know. For this place, for me, for something better than the way I left things." Her eyes flicked back to me, searching, sharp under the warm glow of the string lights. "You asking if the town forgives you? Or if you forgive yourself? Or if Zeke forgives you for leaving?" The fry in my hand had gone cold, soggy with sauce. I set it down. "Something like that." She nodded slowly. "This town's got a memory, sure. Just remember, the tide goes in and out, every day, but it always comes back. You've got a scar or two, but so does everyone else who stayed. Even Zeke." She nudged my plate toward me. "Finish your burger. What happened?" Behind us, Bruno Mars had given way to complete mess by 5 seconds of summer. Something about that voice, raw and worn in all the right places, made the whole scene feel like it had waited just for tonight. I spun the plate, thinking about picking up the burger. "It was bad, Mom. Gerald cheated with someone I worked with. I couldn't take it, so I left. Came back home because Pittsburgh hurt too much." Her breath caught just a little, not a gasp, just the kind of pause only a mother would catch between heartbeat and heartbreak. She didn't say, "I told you so," or even ask which coworker. She just reached out and took my hand across the table, her fingers calloused from years of slicing onions and wiping down counters, firm and grounding. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," she said. "That man didn't deserve you. Never did." I looked down, thumb grazing the edge of the cracked plate. He didn't even try to lie, just said it wasn't working and that maybe I was too much. "Well," she said, sitting back and opening her burger with precision, "if too much means expecting loyalty, kindness, and a little bit of effort, then maybe you should be even more next time." A breeze picked up, carrying in the scent of the sea and the faint ring of a bike bell somewhere down the lane. The light from the lighthouse swept across the rooftops, steady, forgiving. "I think Zeke's still here," she added casually. picking up a fry. Still volunteers at the firehouse. Still teaches guitar to the kids at the library on Saturdays. Still comes by for breakfast on Sunday. I met her eyes. Does he ever ask about me? Mom took a bite of her burger, chewed, then nodded. You've just experienced one of life's hardest lessons. Grass isn't always greener on the other side of the road. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. The kind that feels like it's been trapped somewhere between your ribs and your pride. The grass might be greener here, but I'd spent so long staring at fences, I'd forgotten what home even smelled like. I don't even know what I'd say, I remembered, watching a pair of kids toss a frisbee in the dimming light. Sorry I left. Sorry I didn't stay and fight for us. Sorry I thought the job was more important. Sorry I was a jerk. Mom wiped her fingers on a napkin, leaned back with her beer. Start with hi. If he wants more than that, trust me, he'll ask. The lighthouse beam swept over us again, a second heartbeat in the dusk. I took a bite of my burger, the ember sauce a slow burn in my mouth. Did he move on? Only one way to find out, Mom said, taking another bite. You need a place to stay? Your old room is the TV room now, but we've got a guest room you're welcome to. I smiled at that. Dad and me do better when we're not living under the same roof. I'll get a hotel for tonight. Mom almost chuckled. Remember when you told him you didn't want to run the diner? I thought he'd turn into a giant blueberry. His face went so purple. Like that girl from that show, Willy Wonka or something. We did have our yelling matches, I said, sipping the beer to cool the burn from the sauce. I'll be around tomorrow morning, she said, same as always. If Zeke shows up, I'll make extra biscuits. You can pretend you just wandered in. We're having cake and ice cream back at the house tomorrow night. Make sure you're there. I nodded slowly. Okay. We finished our burgers talking about little things. I drove around the streets, even past Zeke's old house. No sign of his white 2006 Subaru Outback with mismatched hubcaps and just shy of 200,000 miles. Was it still on its original engine? It used to tow his uncle's boat, until his uncle bought a new boat that needed a bigger vehicle to tow it. The Subaru was the kind of car that could drive through a thunderstorm on bald tires and still smell like eucalyptus air freshener and fishing line. If it wasn't parked in the usual spot, it meant Zeke was either gone or hiding. I knocked on their door. His little sister answered, eyes glued to her phone, an app away from an eye roll. I couldn't remember her name. Is Zeke around? She glanced up from the phone, eyes rolling. He moved out. Where's he living? Like I would tell you. You don't remember me? Nope. Door shut. The old door stared back at me, as if laughing. Once again, I was too late. Too late to realize what I had lost. Too late to realize that I sacrificed love for a career. I pursed my lips. The disappointment hit stronger than I thought, like a baseball bat across the shoulders. I had deleted his number when we had broken up. His parting words? You don't get to keep one foot in and one foot out, Jaspar. I was all in. And you? He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The silence did the rest. At the time, I'd laughed it off. Something sharp and bitter, like biting into a citrus rind. I told myself he was being dramatic, that we'd both move on, that big city promotions and clean apartment counters would fill the ache. They didn't. Now, standing on that cracked welcome mat, I felt smaller than I had in years, like the town had closed ranks without me, and even the doorknobs had a memory I wasn't part of anymore. I glanced at my phone. No texts, no easy way out. I typed in his name just to be sure. Nothing. I'd burned that bridge, and all I had left was smoke and good intentions. A gust of wind caught the collar of my jacket. Cold and briny. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a dog barked. I turned and headed for the car, wondering if the library still had those community bulletin boards. If Zeke was still teaching guitar there, maybe, just maybe, his handwriting still lived on a neon index card taped to the corkboard with his phone number. I drove back to Crescent Green, to the old red brick library with the white trim and tall 8-paned windows. I tried the doors. They were closed. Locked. I knocked. The old librarian walked to me, pointing at the hours on the door. The library closed at 6 on Saturdays. I checked my phone. 2 hours too late. She opened the door. If you have an overdue book, place it in the book drop in the parking lot and we'll check it in on Monday. I'm looking for Zeke. Was he here? He'd written a new song and we recorded it at our little kids' concert so we could post it. What time? It was, just before lunch. The click as she closed the door was a book closing on another chapter. It was Saturday night. We always went to one place, our place, the place we had shared our first kiss. I drove to the old cannery district, now rebranded for tourists as Tideway Crossings. Lantern Pier jutted into the ocean like it still had somewhere to be, anchored by the painted anchor crab shack and bar. The only place in town with real nightlife. Touristy food, a full bar, a creaky dance floor, and a corner stage for whatever band could survive the salt air. I parked, stepped onto the pier, and let my shoes clack against the weathered boards, the sound echoing off the water like applause for my return. Zeke and I had come here often. The painted anchor was half bar, half shipwreck, the kind of place that smelled like spilt beer, fried oysters, and the ghosts of 100 first kisses. The wood plank floors creaked underfoot, every board polished more by boots and spilled drink than by any proper mop. A neon lobster blinked in the corner above a jukebox that hadn't been updated since Obama's first term. The third booth from the back was our booth. We'd even carved our initials in the old wall. Z plus J. We weren't the only ones. The place had hundreds, maybe thousands, such initials carved into the walls. The bartender glanced up. Same guy as always. Travis, with arms like dock ropes and a beard that might have housed a seagull or two. His eyes narrowed, then widened. Well, I'll be, he said, drying a glass that didn't look wet. Jaspar O'Carney, thought you got swallowed up by the big city grind. I gave him a tired smile. Spit me back out. Travis nodded toward the far end of the bar. You want the usual stool, or the booth where you and Zeke used to argue Yankees versus Red Sox when I walked around? As if I didn't know about two guys secretly making out. I hesitated, just for a moment, then made my way to the booth. The cushion was still torn, our initials still on the wall. Behind the bar, Travis pulled a pint without asking. You always did have bad timing. Zeke closed his tab about an hour ago. Said he had a meeting early tomorrow. So he was here. Not a memory, not a rumor, just close. From a back booth, someone started plucking at a guitar. Soft, hesitant notes. It wasn't Zeke, not his confident rhythm, nor his smooth voice, but the chords were familiar. Fallen by Coco Jones. We had danced to that one, and he had learned to play it on the guitar. He'd sung it on our first night. We were alone. Together. A lump formed in my chest. Ever have a moment that changed your life, only to discover it was the wrong decision? I tightened my fingers around the glass, cool and damp, and stared at the spot across from me. Nothing had changed. I was still alone. If he wasn't here, or at the library, where could he be? Town hall? Closed on weekends. Bowling alley? He didn't like bowling. The Walmart just outside of town? He could have driven to Kittery. I could wait until tomorrow morning, maybe see him at the diner, but I needed to see him tonight. I drained the rest of my beer, dropped a bill on the counter, and stepped back into the night, the pier boards groaning underfoot like they disapproved of my choices. The waves chugged against the pier supports, steady as an old engine, while the lighthouse swept its beam across the dark like a searchlight stuck in memory. Somebody barbecued hot dogs somewhere on the beach. Where would Zeke go on a Saturday night that wasn't the bar or the library? I sat in the car and let my eyes scan a town I once knew street by street. Maybe the old rec center at the community church? The one that moonlighted as a swing dance ball on weekends, a bingo pit midweek, and their sanctuary come Sunday 9 o'clock in the morning? Sometimes he had played there, but that was usually during bingo. I pulled up the community calendar on my phone, scrolled past announcements for lost cats, free tax help, and open mic poetry. There it was, Saturday Swing Social, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. I glanced at the time, 9:18. I peeled out of the parking lot like a man late for a second chance and pulled in front of the old church 5 minutes later. On a small hill, it gave the best view of the ocean, save for the lighthouse. A man's voice crooned, "Love will find the way." The air smelled of popcorn, beer, and someone's reheated pizza. Voices overlapped in layers, chatter, laughter, an engine revving for attention, all stitched together by the faint squeak of someone's orthopedic shoes on the tile. The loud laughter of a group of women added to the noise. Must be 100 cars here. 3 white Subaru Outbacks, but none were his. I stepped inside. Banners decorated the stage where a 5-man band played songs from the Stone Age. The men wore black pants and green jackets, the drums too loud. I was the only person under 50, maybe even under 60. "Hey," an old-timer said, "you're Maeve's boy." "How's the big city? Rumor says you went to Pittsburgh." An older woman with white hair and a turquoise top handed me a glass of punch. Like any teenager, her other hand held a cell phone. There was something familiar about her, like I'd seen her once, years ago. "It's a lot bigger than here, and smells like oil," I said, accepting the punch and tasting it. Fruit punch, non-alcoholic. "I'm looking for Zeke. He around?" "I'll tell you for a dance, lover boy," the older woman cackled, sidling up to me as if she were a third her age. "Promise?" I said. She only smiled and placed her hands on my waist. The band began playing. The lead singer took hold of the microphone. A request for If by Bread, an oldie but goodie. A guitar played, melancholic, soulful, filling the hall with delicate notes. The singer then sang a tender, melancholic tune that spoke of lost love. If a picture paints 1,000 words, his voice deeper than Zeke's. We swayed beneath the colored lights, her touch feather light, her perfume like time travel. The guitar lingered over every note, and I remembered the July sun beating down on the Beckett family lawn, the smell of fireworks and lemonade, and the cautious way Zeke had reached for my hand under the picnic table. Just 2 boys trying to be brave in a town that liked things quiet. "You're Zeke's grandmother," I said. Her smile deepened, earrings bouncing in time with the beat. "You called it. Been a long time, Jaspar." It had. Too long. My heart stumbled over itself, trying to ask the right question first. "How's he been?" Same old, she said. "He was heartbroken when you left. Lasted for months. He lost weight, didn't play the guitar, but he snapped out of it." "I wish I'd stayed," I said, not able to look her in the eyes. "You don't know what's important until it's not there, blah, blah, blah," she replied. "Heard it 100 times before." Do you think he'll talk to me?" I whispered. "He hangs around the docks a lot, so you'll have to find him and talk to him." Do you have his number?" She stopped dancing. What kind of a grandmother would I be if I gave it out to anyone who asked? I swallowed, hard, my heart falling apart. Please, I need to talk to him. We started dancing again. I know exactly where he's at, but you need to answer a couple of questions, she said, a wicked grin on her face. If I like the answers, I'll tell you. And if you don't? Zeke lives in peace. Better talk good, city boy. First question, and make it good. She draped her arms loosely across my shoulders, still holding the cell phone. I'm ready. Why should he consider meeting you? I thought a moment about the first time we held hands. It had been at the movie theater, in the dark, watching a thriller about spies. I made a mistake, I said, the worst one of my life. I traded love for a career, and it turned into a disaster. Her face held a hint of compassion, and I spilled everything. My boyfriend's affair, the trouble at work, being alone in a city with no real friends, remembering what I had given up, the love, the friends, people who really cared about me. If you could say anything right now. Her face became serious, her eyebrows lowering a little, her earrings coming to a stop. What would you tell him? I took a deep breath. My future depended on what I said. I'd tell him I'm sorry I left. Her eyes hardened. Are you sorry you left him, or sorry that your life fell apart in Pittsburgh and are running home, tail between your legs, because life slapped you hard? What had Mom said only a little while ago? Grass isn't always greener on the side of the road. Maybe it isn't green unless we fertilize it, mow it, and take care of it. We both stopped dancing, and my eyes burned. She draped her arms back across my shoulders and smirked. You want his number, huh? Talk to him? See him after being gone 2 years? Tell me this first. Why should he want to see you? The question didn't sting. It scorched. I pressed my lips, flat, unable to speak. The ache in my heart blocked any rational thought. I love him. I always have. I need to tell him that I apologize. Grandma Beckett pursed her lips, her arms about my neck. That has about as much emotion as my garden gnome. Do you expect to win him back with such a simple, sorry? I lost him once and couldn't survive doing it again, I whispered. I was an idiot to leave a man who loved me. I thought I could come back and everything would be the same. Maybe we could start where we left off. That was selfish of me. Make me believe it. I swallowed hard, reaching into my pocket. I still have the ticket stub, I said, removing the battered ticket from the wallet. From that spy movie. It's faded and ripped and smells like old wallet, but I kept it because it was the first time I felt like I belonged to someone, like I was seen, like I mattered. She didn't say anything. She folded her arms, her lips narrowing. The emotion welled in my chest. My face screwed up and I stared at the fluorescent lights overhead, the tears finally beginning to fall. My voice choked. The heat rushed from my eyes to my cheek. I memorized his laugh. I still hear it sometimes when I'm walking home alone. I don't want to remember it anymore. I want to hear it again. I miss Zeke so much it hurts. Her eyes flicked down to the phone in her hand. And if he tells me to go to hell, I added, voice shaking, I'll thank him for the chance to talk to him one last time and never bother him again. She held me, tight, as my chest racked with emotion. Her voice soft. She whispered, He lives on a boat, and it's docked at Windward Marina, slip 14. You've convinced an old woman who still believes in romance. Now explain it to him. I stepped back, only then noticing her phone was on, recognizing the forgotten number. It was him. My hands trembled. Goosebumps formed on the back of my neck. the heat in my face chilled. Zeke had heard our conversation. The room became quiet. Only me and the phone existed. A slight sound, his breath. "Hi, Jaspar." My throat tightened. I tried to breathe, but it came out ragged. Tears came then, hot, violent, gouging long tracks in my cheeks. 2 words escaped, heavy with emotion so devastating my knees buckled. "I'm sorry." His trembling voice came through her phone. "Are you okay?" My breath caught. For a second, I thought I'd imagined it. His voice was unmistakable, warm, cautious, and real. "No," I said. It came out as a last gasp, ragged with long-held regret and broken dreams. "Bring the beer," he said. The streets blurred past, quiet and half asleep, their porch lights flickering like old memories. I barely registered the turns. My hands moved on instinct, muscle memory pulling me down roads we used to roam. The cracked pavement still curved around the old cannery fence, and the diner's neon sign still flickered in pink and green, stubborn against the dark. My headlights cut a narrow path through the mist, and for a moment it felt like I was driving through time. We had run to the diner during that rainstorm, drenched, laughing, dripping water in the diner, and kissing. Mom could have shouted, but she handed us a mop and sighed. The bench in the green, where we spent all night on talking about our dreams. I stopped off at the diner, quickly paying for a 6-pack of Victory Golden Monkey Ale. As I left, Mom yelled, "I'll see you 2 tomorrow morning. Pancakes, coffee, and bacon." Past almost every wrong turn, towards something I thought I'd lost for good, to the marina. Of all the boats, only one had lights on, a small covered deck on top for the wheel. An open back that opened into 2 rooms inside, freshly painted white, chrome lovingly polished. Ropes neatly spiraled on deck. It had old-fashioned lights stretched from stem to stern, its portholes filled with golden warmth. Zeke stood outside, watching for me. He broke into a smile the moment he saw me. I ran to him, bottles clanking in the cardboard case, heart jumping in my chest, and I collapsed into his arms. His arms strong, his face a legend of joy, and he whispered, "You remembered the beer?" Zeke stepped a half-step away, arms still holding me. His gaze searched my face, seeking something, his cheeks wet, his breath warm, halting, his grip strong. "I've prayed for this for so long." His voice broke and he became silent, pulling me close. He smelled of sea air and old spice, his body solid from life lived on a boat. "Can I?" My heart skipped, suddenly afraid to say the words. My stomach tightened, prepared for the rejection I deserved. "Can I come home?" A gentle sob escaped his lips, a short sigh. Holding me by the fingers, Zeke led me onto the boat. For a moment, the world held its breath. The marina, the salt air, even the sea itself, all waiting. Then he smiled wider, eyes glassy, and took the beer from my hands with exaggerated care. "I'm not saying this earned you a clean slate." He kissed my palm, working his way up my arm. "But I'll listen." His kisses reached my upper arm. Zeke smiled and pulled my shirt over my head. "Come inside," he murmured, lightly kissing my arm and shoulder. "It's warm." I gripped his shirt and pulled it off, his skin hot under my fingers. "Start talking," he ordered as he kissed me on the mouth, passion rising between us, a fire long forgotten but never extinguished. "So I can forgive you," he whispered into my ear. I'm Gio, writer and narrator of this piece. Copilot helped me with the editing. Thank you for staying to the end, my friends. I appreciate it. I love you all. Until next time, peace, my friends.